All right, a college football conversation continues right now. Welcome back to the show. A friend of the show, Joe Gaither, staff writer for BamaCentral.com. Joe, great to have you here on the show. Hey, listen, since last time I talked to you, you've got a little facial hair growing. Was this part of Is this just a summer thing for you? What's up?
Oh no! Well, we do a little show on YouTube as well, so trying to catch the peoples. I usually wear some funny glasses as well, just to keep just somebody interested. That's all it is, and the girlfriend likes it, so we keep it.
There you go. The last thing that's key. I've dabbled with shaving the mustache several times over the years, and I get outvoted unanimously by my wife and kids. So
Well, you got to make the family happy, make the loved ones happy. So if they like it, then it's not too much to put up with.
there you go. There you go. Well, speaking of happy, what's the level of glee right now in Alabama, down in Tuscaloosa, going into this 2025 season?
Well, I would put it at a 6, 7. I think it's trepidation. I think it's a cautious optimism for the upcoming season. Kalen DeBoer's second year. I think there's a lot of optimism about Ty Simpson, the new name starter, but there is some trepidation because of his sitting on the bench behind Jalen Milroe for the last couple of years. Oh, if he wasn't good enough to beat out Jalen Milroe, is he good enough to lead Alabama to a title? But you look around the rest of the team, you've got loaded skill position players. All the offensive linemen are highly rated this, highly rated that. So it's just going to be a question of if the coaching staff can keep the team dialed in for 12 weeks and take Alabama back to the college football playoff.
It's impossible to replace a legend, and especially when that legend's name is Nick Saban. We talked last year about this again. You and I've talked several times that how difficult that is. How do you think he did, and how do the fans react to having a season that wasn't an 11, 12 win season? And you didn't win a national title because he's not Nick Saban. It's year one. He's a different guy. How did he do in year one? How was he received in year one?
I think he was received with mixed feelings, but with 9-3, well, really 9-4, losing to Michigan in the bowl game. You've got people who thought that he did a really good job, and you've got the people who obviously were upset that he didn't live up to the Alabama standard. Myself, I'm in the camp that he did a really good job. You hold together a roster that was flirting with the transfer portal as soon as obviously Coach Saban leaves. You got 30 days to decide if you want to stay or go. So he only had a couple of days to get everybody back on board, and obviously you lost some talented players, but kept the majority of the roster together and implemented your system through the summer and into the fall. And really, I mean, you never want to losing to Vanderbilt was a big old stinker. And then you still had the season all out in front of you. You went to Oklahoma and laid probably the biggest egg of the year. Everybody looks at the Vanderbilt loss, but the Oklahoma loss really was, in my opinion, the worst loss because you still had the season to play for and went out there and really did not play very well on the road. But when you get all the way down to it, even through the bowl game, when you lose to Michigan in pretty emphatic fashion, you weren't really ever in that bowl game. I kind of think the team was just out of gas. And this is the first year. You keep everything together, and then you lose a lot of guys in the transfer portal this past winter, and maybe you should have lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal. You bring in a new recruiting class, and everybody stays through the spring transfer portal window, and you all you've been hearing this summer is unity, togetherness, everybody on the same page. So I think it was really kind of a transition year. And if you look at Coach Saban, his first year transition year was 7-6, and so wow, 9-4, a whole lot better than 7-6. I think that he did about a minus job in his first year, and maybe the people that are upset with the 9-4 maybe aren't considering all the dynamics that were at play last season and how difficult the competition is at this level of college football.
Yeah, well, and I think again that here's somebody who I'm with you. To me, I thought getting 9 wins, no matter how you did it, considering to your point that you're coming in, after the bowl game last a year before, right? I mean, Alabama plays, Nick comes back home and says, "I'm done with this." It's not like it was you knew this in November or December. To make that quick change after they played in the national championship game a couple weeks later, make this quick changeover, keep your players there, build it in, have it's a different system, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I'm concerned about is I hope that he doesn't get chased out of town. If he only puts up 9 wins in his first 3 seasons, I hope they're not chasing him out of town like they would like at Tennessee or Ohio State.
That's certainly a concern, and I think if you're Kalen DeBoer, if you're in the Kalen DeBoer camp, that you really are looking for him to make the college football playoff this year. If you make the playoff this year, I think that you're pretty much trending towards trending towards the line of security. But if you go out and lose some, I mean, the road schedule is really really difficult this year. You're at South Carolina, you're open with Florida State, which I think the common fan is underestimating. I think Gus Malzahn and their revamped offensive line is going to make that a really challenging day. You've got a really challenging road schedule. You go to Georgia for your first SEC road game of the year. You're at South Carolina, as we said. We end at Auburn, and at Auburn was always a bad spot for Coach Saban. Even the games he won, he had to win in miraculous fashion in several ways down at Auburn. So there's a lot of pitfalls on this schedule, but all the teams you lost to last year, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, are coming back to Tuscaloosa. So it sets up, if you can navigate the schedule, maybe hopefully get out of it at a 10-2 record, you can be in that mix for the SEC championship, and you can be really really flirting with the college football play. I think if you're in the playoff, he's going to be safe. If he's not in the playoff, the rumblings are going to start rumbling louder and louder, and year 3 is going to be make or break.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. By the way, a quick aside, Alabama does host my alma mater, Eastern Illinois, in late November. So thank you for the check and the privilege of getting our butts whipped. So thank you.
Well, I have a take on these games. I hate these games, and you're welcome for the check. But you know how we've got to get the 4-game red shirt. The freshmen can play in 4 games and keep their red shirt. I think if you're playing the FCS schools, that needs to not count against the 4 games. Encourage the coaches to use that FCS game to play your second stringers, your freshmen. Use it as a free game. It doesn't count against the red shirt rule, so you can still play your 4 games against, Georgia, whoever, South Carolina, whatever. But when you're playing that FCS school, the coaches know, oh, my freshmen can play in this for free. And maybe it'll encourage them to play in those games, and maybe the competition in those games will be just a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, after all, look, no, but they're not fooling anybody. We know why they're scheduling these types of games in November. So it's not like you're really planning on playing your starters for 60 minutes, right? I mean, so to your point, I totally agree. It's a great idea, and maybe let's start that campaign to get that out there.
Yeah, I just don't, from a fan standpoint and from a media standpoint, there's nothing really intriguing. Will Alabama beat Eastern Illinois? What are we looking for this week? XYZ, AB. Well, make it intriguing. This new 2020, this class of 2025 that you brought in with Keelan Russell, who leads the class as a freshman. You give Ty Simpson the week off and say, Keelan, this is your chance to operate as the starter, and you got to get us through this. We got to see if you're ready for this. Now, obviously, Simpson and the starters will be sitting right there ready to go in if things go towards the Michigan App State direction. But you give the new freshman hey guys, you guys were all highly rated. We'll see what you got right here. You got to make sure see if you're ready for some action in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That just an out of the box thought to make these games a little more intriguing.
Yeah, you mentioned the schedule overall though, and it is one that look, the SEC West always was just a juggernaut. I mean, year in, year out, it was never easy. It doesn't get this feels like an SEC West type schedule for Alabama in terms of, like you said, they open at Georgia, a team that Alabama almost never played in the regular season under the division system, and yet they get the Bulldogs early. You mentioned again Florida State. So many people are saying, yeah, that's. I don't know if you can ever say Florida State's a trap game because, I mean, really, but coming off the season that they had, I agree with you. People are really kind of underestimating them right now. But then right now, you look later, they've got 4 straight games against ranked teams at number 24 Tennessee. At the moment, they're 24. Home against Tennessee, at number 13 South Carolina, home against number 9 LSU, and then home against number 18 Oklahoma. All those games at the end of October, start of November. Wow.
Yeah, and it starts even before that. You're going to have extra emphasis on the Vanderbilt game because of what happened last year. And so really it's Vanderbilt, it's at Missouri at 11 a.m., and then it's Tennessee. If you're not if your focus is on getting revenge against Vanderbilt and Tennessee, as it probably should be after last season, well, are you going to Como, Missouri, and falling asleep at 11 a.m. against Eli Drinkwitz? And what are they going to do? Bo Perbula seems to be this this dual threat tough quarterback, and Eli Drinkwitz is an offensive mind. Now Alabama beat the brakes off of them last year in Tuscaloosa, but if you're not ready for that, can it be a repeat of the Vanderbilt performance last year, where you think, oh, we're going up to Nashville last year and just handling our business, but gritty Diego Pavia says no, thank you. Is the same formula right there as you're focusing on all these bigger name teams. Missouri has a kind of a soft opening to its schedule, but really, I think it starts right there after you got the bye week, then you're into Georgia, then it's Vanderbilt, and it's all you're basically rolling right there after you go to Athens, and so. I think there's a lot of pitfalls on this schedule. I know a lot of Alabama fans want to see 11-1, want to see 12-0, but I'm just not sure if that's in the cards based on the way the schedule falls.
I mean, if they're 11-1, 12-0, they're in the top three in the country. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And even Wisconsin's a team that you handled last year with Madison. You get him back, but that's another coach there who is trying to, in Luke Fickell, who is trying to prove himself that he has not had the success of past coaches, and there's another coach in the hot seat needing to get a signature win, and this would be huge if they can pull this off. So again, when you're Alabama, you're always wearing the target. I mean, they know that anyway when they step onto the field.
Yeah, you're wearing the target. I mean, despite Nick Saban not being there, you can still beat Alabama and proverbially raise the banner. Oh, we beat Big Bad Bama, because the talent is still extremely high throughout the board. And Kalen DeBoer is a respected coach. It's not like the program has fallen to 9-4. Oh, the program's falling. The sky is falling. They can't beat anybody. I think Alabama still has the mystique of being Alabama. And as long as they keep. I don't know when that will fade. I think you're probably going to have another. You're probably going to have a few 8-5s before that mystique starts to fade, because of the dynasty that Nick Saban really built. And you still actually have some Nick Saban players on the roster. So as long as these guys that have been recruited by Coach Saban are still around, the mystique is still going to be there. So everybody's going to be gunning for you week in and week out.
Yeah, no question at all. Talking with Joe Gaither once again, staff writer for BamaCentral.com, also part of the Alabama Crimson Tide on SI staff. Curious, obviously Georgia's right there coming in preseason. They're number 5. What's the one team in the SEC that scares you, that should scare Alabama?
Taking Texas and Georgia away, because those are the obvious answers. I am looking at South Carolina. I'm looking at South Carolina and traditionally LSU, but really the South Carolina road trip. South Carolina came to Tuscaloosa last year, and it was one of the uglier games that Alabama actually won. But Alabama has to go out there this year. Sandstorm's going to be going crazy. Lenore Sellers is going to he's dual threat quarterback. Alabama struggled with dual threat quarterbacks last season. I think that Dylan Stewart is a fine edge rusher, and you've got question marks at your right tackle. So if you can, if they can manipulate a matchup against Alabama's right tackle, South Carolina presents a lot of problems, and particularly the way that South Carolina's schedule lines up. They're going to have a challenging schedule if they've dropped a couple of games and they need a signature win. I can see Shane Beamer really rallying the troops. Hey, Alabama's coming into town. Let's get our signature season back on track. So I think South Carolina is a really, really dangerous team that not everybody's talking about.
Yeah, and it's funny that Sellers all of a sudden is on some NFL draft boards next year. I mean, boy, after the one big season, but he's such a great talent out there. Want to ask you a question I ask everyone when we talk college football, journalists and experts all over the country. NIL House, the settlement, finally coming into play on July 1. How has that changed things at Alabama, if at all?
I think the Alabama entity, Alabama's NIL collective, has really always been operating in a conservative mindset. Even before the settlement, I think that they've been operating on, hey, Billy Five Star, if you want to make some money, here's an actual business venture that we can pair you with. No, obviously there has been some straight up, collective checks right to you and that's going to slow down with the settlement. But I think the Alabama entity has really done a good job partnering with local businesses, with bigger brands, and putting their players into places and positions where they're going to operate still continue as normal because it's kind of been what the settlement has implemented as far as actual NIL. What I do think is the revenue sharing it has really replaced some of the NIL straight up pay for play. So you got Alabama at a what 16-17 million dollar roster because of the 22 million 21 million revenue sharing number, and so football's getting 16, 17, 18 million of that, and you're able to basically replace the pay for play with the revenue sharing while keeping up the players with actual business ventures making the money on top of the rev share. So I think the rev share is really the kind of the linchpin of the whole deal because it replaces, hey, straight up pay for play. It actually comes from the school now. And I think you're seeing the rev share maybe change things in recruiting in the sense that Alabama is being a little more selective. They are in the 2026 class. They're going after, I think, quality players still, but maybe not as highly rated players. You have to turn on the tape and look at these 3 stars that some of that Alabama has committed and say, oh, okay, I can see why the coaches have committed these guys, are going after these guys, but they're not 5 stars, they're not 4 stars. Now you're still getting a few 5 stars. Xavier Griffin out of Georgia looks like a bad man, but you've still got, but you're going after a few more 3 stars, a few more guys that are under the radar more, and you got to go find their tape and figure out, oh, that's why Alabama is going after them. Maybe they're not as highly rated on Rivals, On 3, 24/7, those types.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch kind of how this unfolds. I mean, we saw this kind of the Wild Wild West era for a few years. Now there are some guide rails, as I've said, some guardrails, some guidelines. How will that change things? Only time will tell. Joe, we appreciate your time as always, man. Tell the girlfriend we love the Van Dyke, looking good. Look forward to
Thank
talking to
you.
you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I hope to talk to you guys again soon.
All right, brother. Definitely. You can count on it. Joe Gaither joining us once again. Love talking to him. Staff writer with BamaCentral.com. Alabama starting off the season at Florida State, which should be an outstanding game. Looking forward to that at the start of the season. Coming up just next weekend, 12 days away. Crazy. All right. We've got more college football still on the way. Stay with us.